refreshing drink.
Now, the people who are currently looking at the situation do not get this. They want to put 85 to 95% of the growth in Central Texas along the corridor, the very place that has the least amount of water right now. They've already stressed their resources. Certainly, we have to keep water there for people. We need to help them, and we need to see them as our allies, not our enemies. But we don't do that by moving water. We need to re-engage the urban areas into how important the rural areas are to this state. It is an irony that the people who are now sitting in the legislature got votes from the rural district and are now stomping the rural districts into the ground. How do we solve this problem? Okay. It is wonderful to talk about agriculture and how we can renew the soil, and I think that is fantastic. I think it is very important that we talk about how much it is costing us on growth. But if you want to solve a problem, you've got to give people the carrot along with the stick. And the carrot is jobs. We are now currently sitting in an economy that is going to turn back up, but we've got to encourage it. And how do you encourage jobs? Well, you redefine the paradigm. And the jobs are in rural Texas because we have got some tremendous potential. I practice this. You know, I spent 4 years with people telling me you can't make money with cows unless you've got them grazed and around your oil wells. Well, I don't have any oil wells, but I'm still making money off the cow. And the reason I did it was I took the paradigm, I turned it on its head, and I went and did something else. We sell direct to our markets. We sell a product that we don't need to fatten our animals on corn, which is a petrochemical-based grain. We are using organic fertilizers. We are not certified organic, but we use organic methods. So my grass lasts longer than people next door who are using commercial fertilizers. I use less water. I get more yield off of my hays. I get less weeds because my grass is healthier and it pushes the weeds out. And consequently, it costs me less to do good and do well than it does somebody who's using petroleum fertilizers that are now going to be well over $100 per acre just to continue to do the same old thing. Okay? Now, why do I point that out? Well, the guy who is putting the organic fertilizer on my field is expanding his business. He's hiring more people. I sell more hay. I make more money. I have to hire people to bale that hay. That's more jobs. We are now killing 3 animals a week. We could easily move up to 5. That keeps people in the processing plant down LaGrange hired. They're hiring more people because they've got to have more people to do more of the meat. We buy all of our labels in Houston. We buy all of our bags in Austin. We do all of our web work here in Texas. That hires people, okay? If we start doing local sustainable, the jobs get created here. And agriculture has tremendous potential to do that in this state because we can create jobs to support the economies here. It is not that hard. We need more hydrologists. We need people who are educated in agriculture to look at the options of, instead of recycling water through the traditional method, we reuse it instead in fish farms and in olive groves and in wine vineyards. We've got people who are catching rainwater who are now going to be doing vodka and rum over in Smithville. Didn't know that, did you? We've got somebody that's talking about a microbrewery in Bastrop. There are tremendous things that we can be doing, but how do we move from the current paradigm where a few people are making a lot of money to the next paradigm where a lot of people are making good money and creating jobs here and educating our kids here and talking about the things that really matter to the quality of life, not just the quantity. So I don't have all the answers, but what I want to do is start helping you think about the alternatives, the paradigms. And instead of taking that old paradigm and sticking with it, shifting it and realizing that we've got a lot more in common, not just among the people here, not just among property owners and our small communities, but between the urban areas and the rural areas. So let me leave with this last thought. All those people need food. All those people need water. All those people need some place to live. All those people need alternative and renewable energies. Okay? We should be building our houses differently so that they are self-sustaining. That can be done. It is not an old, new technology. We need to be looking at subdivisions where we don't have to put houses on the grid, where the majority of our wastewater does not have to go into a traditional treatment system. We need to be looking at different ways of structuring our urban areas, and we need to be looking at how we use our resources much more effectively and efficiently. Currently, the majority of cities will waste through leakage 25% of the potable water that is going into the system. And yet, because there's not a whole lot of money to be made repairing pipes, but there's a whole lot of money to be made building and laying new pipes, nobody is stopping the leakage. Stop the leakage. Use less water. You should not be watering lawns with potable water. We should be looking at rezoning so that we can replumb houses to use gray water in yards. We need to be doing rainwater catchment. This is Texas. This is not the Amazon. It should be running off our roofs into collectible systems. But that means a whole different group of jobs. And that's what we've got to start shifting towards. So I'm going to stop there. I just want to link economy with nature and realize that we can do the right thing and we can still do well. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we are now open for questions.
We're facing a new dimension in eminent domain coming toward us that should enhance the right of recovery for property owners whose surface has been taken. And that's going to play into the issue of water rights to the value of the water underground. But as we see an area declared a non-development zone by the Edwards Aquifer Authority, which is a totally new idea, these developers to be told, you can't build there. Is that going to drive the property value down to have an oasis of wildlife and open space in the middle of all this development? Or is it going to drive the property value up?
There's an assumption that if we just don't build, then we're protecting the water and the recharge and the water quality. And there's an assumption that if we do build, we're destroying it. And that's a bit too simplistic, and I think that's been one of our problems. We can build in a way that is responsible and respects water, catty training up, rainwater harvesting, and techniques like that. And the flip side is, although open space, almost any open space is better than concrete. Again, there's a value depending on how you use that land and the land management techniques you use. It can either be something where the land is rock hard and you still have runoff and you still don't get good recharge and there's still all these issues, or you can use land productively for agriculture in a way that improves water quality and improves recharge. And so again, as we're looking at open space things, I would encourage, we need to push our policymakers to go beyond just, is it open space or is it development, and go, what's the quality of the open space and how do we maximize that?
I would like to address one issue economically in regards to agricultural land. We're facing two major problems right now. Land has become expensive enough at this point that it's very difficult for anybody who wants to get into agriculture right now to get into agriculture. And our average age, not that I'm telling you my age, the average age for the majority of ranchers in this country is 56. And even if they leave their lands to their kids, what you're fighting is that A rancher will look and say, well, you know, if I lease my land for cattle, I can make $10 to $12 an acre a year. If I run cattle and sell them the conventional way, I can maybe make $300 an acre per year, which is probably fairly high. If I could do something that's more unconventional and I can raise that revenue rate up to $500 or $600 an acre per year, that's really, now we're starting to get to the point where I can make a reasonable living and I can justify keeping that land. But somebody comes along, and right now, agricultural land in Bastrop County is going for between $10,000 and $20,000 an acre. Now, I had somebody from one of the groups in Austin that was helping us do Opportunity Bastrop County say, well, you know, that land's going to be sold invariably. And I said, look, you can sell land once. You can't sell it twice, you can only sell it once. But if you can show somebody how to make a profitable living off that land consistently year in and year out, you now build up a barrier to them selling out that land. The question is how much do you need to make per acre per year to justify holding on to land that is escalating in value? That's where we need to start looking at intensive rotational grazing, where we need to start looking at fish farming, where we need to start looking at olive groves. It will take 5 to 7 years for an olive grove to start making money. However, 98% of the olive oil in this country is imported from out of this country. Olive oil and a good grove can make up to $5,000 per acre once it gets going. If you can show somebody how to make $5,000 an acre, and somebody comes along and says, sell me your land for $20,000 an acre, the guy's going to look at him and say, you're nuts, I can make that in 4 years, and I still have my land. We have got to get past the point of thinking that land in its raw form is the only value it has. When somebody asks me to sell my ranch, it's like asking me to sell my factory. That is how I make my living. But if I can't make a living off that land, I am going to be inclined to sell it. And we have got to start recognizing the value of local sustainable agriculture so we can keep people on the land. If we don't do that, then no matter what we do, we are going to be overrun by developers.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Carrie Knox. I live in Bastrop County. I represent Vice President Trust. 2 quick comments. Brian, your comments are definitely applicable to the rural areas. There is a wonderful group called the American Farmland Trust that has done cost of community services studies in Bexar County, Hayes County, Van Ness County, and I think there's one other county. Clearly proves that it costs more to bring quote-unquote growth in housing to a county than they actually make, and that's very clearly demonstrated, Brian. Patty, I wanted to address one of the things you said about keeping farmers on the land. That's what we do. One of our great tools for doing that involve financial incentive. So there's 2 ways farmers can get money to take equity out of their place and continue farming. One is a federal program where you can place a deed restriction on your property to take the ability to develop it away. You continue to farm, you continue to ranch, you get an income tax deduction for that. The other process, which Texas does not have, but over 30 other states in the United States do have, is a state program called Purchase and Development Rights, or PDR. States actually pay farmers and ranchers to continue farming and ranching. The only thing that the farmer and rancher is not allowed to do is to develop their land. So they continue their lifestyle, they continue producing, they get equity, and there's no net loss of open space or productive farm and ranch land. So if y'all are interested in that, see me later.
That is very valuable information. We're going to have to wrap this panel up. I apologize, we are running late. We're going to make it up during lunch, but we need to bring the next panel on. This was fantastic. Thank you.